It's Wednesday, and I have Khristina Williams from iHeart Women's Sports with me. Khristina, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Natalie.
So, listen, we both were covering the Liberty game over the weekend, but I knew you were going to be joining me later this week, so I waited to have you to have a Liberty conversation with me because I have a lot of questions about the reigning champs right now. And so last night they lost, by the way, on Saturday. They played, or Sunday rather. They played the Minnesota Lynx. Both teams were down arguably their best player. I know that's sort of a debate on the Liberty, but Breanna Stewart was out the game and Napheesa Collier was out for the Lynx, right? And the Lynx handled them. So they were in LA last night on Tuesday. They were coming off of a loss. They are also playing a team that's really hot right now in the Los Angeles Sparks, who the last time they played them beat them on their home court, right? And so we knew the Liberty wanted to get back to winning. We knew they wanted to get their lick back against LA, and they did. They went into LA and they won that game, all right? So that's good for the Liberty. That's great. But I do still have questions about them. So right now they are in their last 5 games 4-1. So the Lynx being the only game that they lost. But prior to that, Khristina, they were on a 4-game losing streak, right? And that did coincide with Breanna Stewart going out the lineup. So now Emma Meesseman comes into the lineup because they acquired her. Rather, they signed her. She came from overseas. And so now she's been playing with the team. And she's honestly, Khristina, she's looked great, right? So last night, she put up her first 20-point game. So she was killing it last night. Her and Jonquel Jones actually both were tremendous in last night's games. I think Jonquel had a double-double. She put up incredible stats. Emma, like I said, she had her first 20-point game, 24 points actually, 9 rebounds. And so do you think the fact that they are winning again, is Emma Meesseman the big reason for that, Khristina?
I absolutely think that Emma is one of the factors into why the Liberty have been able to turn things around very quickly in the absence of a player like a Breanna Stewart, who is the captain of the team, who is a former MVP. And I think that for this team, it's just been injuries that have been so unfortunate this season that has disrupted the team's chemistry. And even in the game against the Sparks, they only had 8 players, but was able to break a WNBA New York Liberty record in scoring 105 points. I think what I like about this Liberty team and how Jonathan Cole was able to put together the roster is getting players who can step up in moments when they really need it. Isabel Harrison was out yesterday due to concussion protocol and didn't travel with the team. Kennedy Burke suited up just in case they needed her. But she's also working her way back into the Liberty's lineup due to a calf injury. So I feel like for the Liberty, it's just been injuries that has been the reason why they've been losing, but also we know that they can get into their own head sometimes. And so those third quarters and half court defense has been something and a point of emphasis for the Liberty in terms of needing to get better, needing to improve game by game. And I think that we saw an example of that against the Sparks. The team is finally getting comfortable. Jonquel Jones finally feels comfortable after she returned from her ankle injury as well. And so this is a team that's just starting to get comfortable with one another and preparing for the playoffs.
Okay. All right. Well, Emma did sort of, after they lost to the Lynx, she did speak up about their loss and just saying, I mean, she just got there, but obviously she's very well respected. She's been a formal finals MVP. She's a Eurobasket champion, MVP as well, all those things. So she's very well respected. And she just basically called them out for things that they weren't doing well as a pretty new member of the team. But she knows many of the players, has past relationships for them. So I'm sure that was fine for her to do that. But also the teams that they've sort of beaten on this, during these 5 games in which she's played, it was 2 games against the Dallas Wings. It was the Connecticut Sun, who they also lost to. And then last night they beat the Sparks. And I mean, I don't want to the Sparks still currently right now don't have a winning record, but they've been hot. They've been one of the hottest teams in the league, and they are playing much better. And like we said, they already beat New York. But the fact does still remain that they lost, all those games, and then out there winning games, but they're against teams that are not that great. And when they did match up with a team like the Lynx, who were also missing their best player, they didn't win that game. Now, since Meesseman has come, if you look at her numbers, she's kind of doing her best Stewie impersonation. And I'm not trying to say that to disrespect Emma, but I mean, the stats are so comparable. If you look at them, Khristina, 14 6-point points compared to 18. Granted, this is only 5 games, but like I said last night, she had that 24-point game. She's shooting so well from the field right now, 51.8%. She's such a high IQ player, and she's really strategic about when she takes her shots and her shot selection. So, I guess I'm wondering, will she be able to stabilize the team enough until Stewie comes back? If they see some better teams during this stretch, will they struggle again? Is this just a case of them beating teams that are lower in the standings, or have they really figured out how to play without Breanna?
Well, I think that that's a really loaded question, Natalie. And it starts with the absence of Breanna Stewart. Obviously, she can't be replaced in terms of her value to this team. But I think that when you insert a player like Emma Meesseman, it's exactly the idea behind Jonathan Cole constructing this roster, to have players that were versatile, that were lengthy, and that could really when you insert them into the lineup, you don't really see a huge difference or a huge drop in the production on the court. I think that that was a point of emphasis when he was constructing this team in the offseason, or even before the trade deadline, was to get players that can make an immediate impact. And it took Emma several games to, find her stride on this Liberty team. And she's been doing an amazing job, considering, like I said, the drop-offs in terms of the injuries over the last few weeks for the New York Liberty. But I don't think this is a reason to panic. I think that, again, going back to those third quarters and the half-court defense, I think that that is the thing that we should pay attention to when it comes to the New York Liberty team. And obviously, the Minnesota Lynx, to their credit, they have the best defense in the league. They added Dejanay Carrington, who is one of the best perimeter defenders. And so I think that for the New York Liberty, that game was definitely a measuring stick. But we know that when it comes to the postseason, everyone starts 0-0, and the Liberty turns it up when it comes to playoff time. So I think that all of these games are going to be learning lessons for the Liberty as they prepare to go into the postseason. But I don't think that it's a reason that we should hit the panic button. Breanna Stewart addressed media earlier last week and said that she's aiming to come back by the end of this month. And we can expect other players like a Kennedy Burke, Niara Sabally to also come back as well. And they've had a huge impact. I think that when we look at what happened in the LA Sparks game, we didn't even mention Laney. The New York Liberty have been wanting her to be aggressive on the offensive end just as much as she has been on the defensive end for them. Because remember, they're also missing Betnijah Hamilton, who was suspended for the whole season due to an injury as well. And her impact for the Liberty in last year's championship run cannot be dismissed as something that, it wasn't impactful for the New York Liberty. Betnijah Hamilton was a player who could not only defend really well 1-4 on the perimeter, but she was offensively aggressive, and she was a playmaker. And so when you have a player like that missing from your lineup, then you have a player like Leonie Fibich who has to step up. She has to be consistently aggressive in that starting lineup for the New York Liberty in order for them to repeat as champions, I think. And we saw, a very good game played with the LA Sparks yesterday, where 5 of the starters finished in double digits, 3 of which had 20 points or more. And Leonie Fibich was one of those players. And so I think that she's finally starting to find some sort of consistency on the offensive end, but it has to stick through the postseason as well.
Okay, so then I'm glad you bring up Leonie, and I'm glad you brought up Betnijah. So let me take one at a time. For Betnijah, do you think that they are missing her? I don't mean just right now because they're dealing with injuries, but this team as envisioned, once hold, is not having Betnijah a detriment to them this year? Because, it could just be because of what they're going through right now. But she'd recently posted on, her Instagram story, and I think she just kind of, put herself on people's radars. And so then there starts to be little conversations about, man, we miss Betnijah. And so do you think they're missing Betnijah?
For me, I don't think it's a detriment to the New York Liberty, but I do think that this team is missing Betnijah Hamilton. She is one of the longest tenured New York Liberty players outside of Sabrina Ionescu and Maureen Johannes. When you talk about how this team was formed and the road to a championship, it starts with the New York Liberty acquiring Betnijah Laney Hamilton to help Sabrina Ionescu. And, her ceiling when it comes to what she's been able to do in her growth on both the defensive end, offensive end is something that we should be talking about. But yes, the New York Liberty definitely miss a player like Betnijah Laney Hamilton. And I love that she kind of checked in on social media. I think that this team, when we talk about the identity of the New York Liberty, Betnijah Laney Hamilton is the heart of it. And so the New York Liberty, the road to the championship, I think that their defense created their offense and their aggression on defense. Betnijah Laney Hamilton was their best defender, hands down, last season. And so, yeah, when we talk about the holes in defense and the half court defense, it starts with missing a player like Betnijah Laney Hamilton. And yes, Leonie Fibich has been able to do her part, but you can definitely see where those holes fall for the New York Liberty. And so I think that this team misses her for sure.
For sure. And I mean, with her missing, and also just the Liberty being down players, it has on some level required Leonie Fibich to play a little out of position. And so you brought her up earlier. She did have a great game last night, 20 points. That was really huge for them. But we also had reports, like just not too long ago, of Leonie saying she's been more fatigued than she's ever been, playing. And that has to be of concern, for the Liberty, right? I mean, I don't think I've ever been this exhausted in my entire career. That's a quote that she gave to the New York Post. And then, Khristina, the Liberty played last night, but they're on a back-to-back. They're going to play tonight in Las Vegas. And Natasha Cloud tweeted about that. The fact that they're in less than 24 hours, they're hopping on a plane to head to Las Vegas, now to Vegas, where we play a back-to-back in less than 24 hours. There's gotta be a better way. So we know that players have been talking a lot about this compressed schedule. And I think I hear you, Khristina, when you say it's not time to hit the panic button. But this is one of the reasons why championship teams do have, it's hard to repeat, right? The Aces were the first to do it a couple years ago in what, I think over 20 years or something like that, because injuries, happen. I know that Breanna Stewart did say she's going to be coming back, but that's going to be late August. Is there enough? I just have concerns. Is there enough time for them to put it all together? Is there time to maybe find Leonie Fibich some rest? This is the first time I've even seen people kind of criticizing the GM for the Liberty and saying, how come he hasn't picked up some hardship players? Do you have any insight on any of that?
Well, I think when it comes to the compressed schedule, it has been something that players have been complaining about for this entire season. It's not something new. But when it specifically comes to Leonie Fibich, you have to account for the fact that she left midseason to go play in Eurobasket. And prior to that, she was overseas playing as well. And so she really hasn't had time to rest and recover fully. And then with all the unexpected injuries suffered by, some of the players on the roster, she has been kind of required to cover more ground. And so I think that, yes, that's definitely going to take a toll when you consider the condensed schedule, especially in this stretch of road games for the New York Liberty. And also considering that they have, when you look at the strength of schedule, kind of like the seventh hardest. So I don't want to say the schedule is easy for the rest of the season, but it's not as difficult as what they experienced in the first half of the season. And so I think that, Jonathan Kolb, he should consider maybe adding some hardship players, especially when you only have 8 players in the rotation. It's something that you want to consider if you want to repeat as a champion. You need your players to be well rested, and you have to take all of the injuries into account in terms of how you can prevent, other players from getting injured. So I really think that that would be a great thing for him to consider.
Okay, well, we'll watch and see, because I'm not hitting panic, but I do wonder if just having Breanna come back and everyone getting whole is going to be enough time, is more so what I'm considering. The Vegas odds have now shifted. The Lynx are now the title favorites and the Liberty are second, and that only recently happened. So we will see. Thanks for tuning in with the WNBA on NBC. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel.